welcome in the Erie County Executive, Brenton Davis, with us live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio, also live on YouTube and Facebook and on TalkErie.com. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Joel.
All right. Again, another month of you in the news. I guess that's part and parcel with being the county executive, right? I mean,
you just grown accustomed to it. I mean, it's part of life, you know. But you break a few eggs to make some omelets. I mean, you keep it interesting and keep them talking.
Okay, so let's talk about the latest, and that is, and we talked about this last month too. So it has spilled over to this month, which is the concept of whose Facebook page is it anyway, and it's Erie County, Pennsylvania Facebook page. According to reporting over at Go Erie, there was an override vote that reaffirms that county resources be free of politics, and they're talking about that social media accounts and so on. And it was a 7-0 vote. Was that today or last Tuesday?
Oh, that was I think that was the last council meeting.
Last council meeting. Okay.
So I mean, yeah, when it comes down to, council does a lot of zany stuff, with little research, little background, and no plan.
Okay.
Much like striking things from the agenda. I mean, they just make, a lot of these folks just make stuff up as they go. And I mean, they're going to learn through the hard knocks of life and the legal process that they're not always correct. I mean, you look at the county Facebook page. I mean, I shared the governor's post before I came over here.
Okay.
From the official governor's page. I shared it on the county page on purpose because you look at the governor. The governor's criticizing decisions that the president's made about funding and things of that nature on the official governor's page. So is that politics or is that an executive advocating for his people? Make a choice. And I even said, a little tongue-in-cheek, maybe should the state house and senate pass a law prohibiting this? I don't even think legally that you can. I mean, council has no enforcement mechanism, and if you really want to sue to add yet another frivolous lawsuit to the tax base...
Let me make sure I understand. Were you reposting from Governor Shapiro's page, or is it from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's page?
Well, it's his official page from the state, from the Commonwealth. So, I mean, you look at these social media pages, I mean, there's 10 or 11 pages that the administration controls, and the irony is this actually came, the name change came as a recommendation from our county controller, who happens to be a Democrat, not that it matters.
Right.
But, just to put it in there, I mean, I can't control that some intern years ago called it County of Erie. You know what I mean? And it's very difficult to change Facebook pages.
Right.
When the controller made the recommendation, hey, let's just change that to Office of the County Executive. I had my intern change all that stuff and, put in the name change request. But like anything, and apparently Facebook's a little slow with updating it. Whenever they get around to approving the title change, it'll change over. But at the end of the day, it's semantics. I'm the county executive. I represent the entire county. All those pages fall under, our administration. We gave the social media page to the YouTube page that's run by the administration. In this new IT migration, that's going to become essentially property of county council. There's been a lot of things over the years that have been convoluted in government. This council wants to have separate but equal, apparently, regardless of the cost of the taxpayers. Creating new IT positions, giving pay raises, creating new IT positions for council in the courts. I mean, this comes down to one thing. I mean, it's them showing their cards. These 4 Democrats that are suing to raise people's taxes, in one hand are claiming that there is an imbalanced budget, that the county is in financial straits to the point where they have to sue to raise taxes. Yet this last week, they just increased the budget by how many positions? I mean, you create one position in county government, it's $100,000 a year that it costs the taxpayers, plus any of these other costs, new licenses, software, anything, any physical hardware that we're going to need. All this studio equipment's expensive. Right. Imagine outfitting however many positions, people, things of that nature. So, I mean, it's a fallacy.
Help me out here. Because I kind of missed the whole IT thing. Mm-hmm. What is the rub about the IT that they're bringing in somebody from the court to help them?
So I mean, it comes down to
we have an countywide IT program?
We have a countywide IT program.
So why isn't
here's the issue.
council using that?
Here's the when ultimately they were, and they don't want to. They want their own. They want to be able to have somebody at their beck and call. This comes down to elections and accountability.
Okay.
I drew a line in the sand during these elections, and they wanted somebody from the administration that falls under the county executive, who I am precluded by law from the Board of Elections. I have no part in the Board of Elections. Right. The county executive, the administration, has no role in elections. And, over these last 2 elections, there's been some strife because they want an administration person that's not trained in elections, that has no part of elections. I mean, think about that. You're literally, look how critical our communities have become, and rightfully so, over elections, right? So you have somebody from the administration that's even just an IT person sitting there like a fly on the wall. I don't want my people, I don't want the administration, I don't want the taxpayers wrapped up in inevitable lawsuits, which we just saw the election prior. And had the election gone one way or the other, to me, I have to protect the taxpayer at the end of the day and those employees that, report to me. So, to me, that's a way of insulating my people. And by law, I don't believe that they should be in there. Anybody can make an accusation saying, hey, this box of mail-in ballots disappeared. Well, the IT guy was in here at 11:30 at night. Like, come on. Like, we just had a lawsuit where, like, they subpoenaed cameras. It was incredibly expensive to the taxpayers. How many depositions that were done. And, my people come to work to do IT work. They don't come to be a political pawn. So we created this email thread. There's like 30-some pages of just emails. If you need service, we bypass the entire ticket process that they would normally have to wait in a line. So think about that. Instead of waiting in the line at the store, I gave you like the speed line at the bank. You walk up, you get immediate service. Send it in an email that says, I request X and Y at 11:06. Well, every member of county council, our solicitors, myself, the director of administration, all the IT supervisors, the county clerk, everybody was on this email thread. So, that's a way of keeping accountability, but it was also creating a digital record. In the event that we got sued and somebody finger pointed, which happens to be very common down there in that office, things fail. Look at the things with the elections. The failure of the ballots to go out and the additional costs of all this. I want no association with that, and the law says so. So whatever they want to do with this fat fiasco, I'm calling it now, and I said this in these meetings. Anything moving forward, that's between the courts. And that's between county council when it comes to these elections, the website updates, all of these things. And again, it's council holds the purse strings. They can do whatever they want. I vetoed it on the principles of, 1, it's an added cost, and 2, I don't believe it's appropriate that a county executive or their employees should be involved in election. Well, now the courts are supervised by the president judge. Right. So now you could potentially put the judicial system in the middle of an election. You don't think that's suspect to begin with. That's highly suspect.
I have a little bit of background in network administration. You never think of it, just look at me. But anyway, I'm trying to understand this because you have a department of the county that happens to be the elections office. Yep. They're full of technology. Yep. Stuff happens, right?
Sure does.
Stuff happens. Yep. So what's their recourse? They've got to be able to call the help desk.
So, the recourse is they got the immediate help. So I stationed people there literally across the hall.
We weren't restricting administrative officers to go to the election office.
See, that's the story they want to tell. But, you got to realize the IT office in the courtroom is literally across the hall. So, as far as you and I are sitting apart, you could touch those doors. Yeah. So we actually had people inside that room for every second that elections office was open. From 6 o'clock in the morning till I think 1 o'clock or 1:30 at night or whatever it was, for any IT help that they needed. I was absolutely unwavering in them utilizing essentially that speed line. It's an email chain. Yeah. You need help. It's immediate. And not only does one person, I didn't want any of this he said, she said. Well, we asked for this and we never got it.
So you just wanted the paper trail.
A digital trail. 100%. Because then.
For every help desk request. Okay.
Essentially, absolutely. And you think about that. Not only does that expedite it, but two, it creates the digital trail.
What was the objection to that scenario?
I don't know. They just didn't want to use it.
So now the answer that we're hearing from council is what? That they're going to hire somebody.
So they hired more positions,
and they actually brought in somebody from the court system for IT.
So they elevated courts IT, which still falls under the same system, the same network, and then they just added more resources. So basically what they're saying is we want to deal with the courts. We want their service from them. We don't want it from the administration.
Aren't they? So you're saying that there's two different IT systems
No.
in the Erie County Courthouse?
There's not. There's one.
Okay, so is this a difference? Is this a distinction without a difference?
100%. And I mean, and
I'm
now
sure there's another explanation.
So
but I'm
anybody
still
with
trying to
any
figure
kind
it
of
out.
common sense, you as a network guy, you see the conundrum. It makes absolutely no sense whether you get service from the left or the right. It makes not a bit of difference.
Well, and I could see where it would be dicey. You know, it's election. I mean, everybody's all
look at how many
out over
look how
the
many
election.
lawsuits there are across the country. I mean,
get
to
that
me,
part, yeah.
you have to protect the taxpayer, and you create that digital log. I didn't want to go in court and have a court council clerk say, "Well, it was the IT people," because there's always finger pointing.
So the nature of the objection from counsel was what, and who was providing that objection?
And I don't think there is a logical objection other than just this false sense of we didn't get service. But I've got 36 pages of documents and timesheets to show that you had service. I mean, there's absolutely nothing that went off without a hitch. Now, you can't make up for like poor planning. You know what I mean? Them not knowing that their link wasn't embedded or the ballots or all, we can't do that. But what we can do is provide that IT support. But I mean, even things like the county clerk wanted to say, well, we had to send out emails. Listen, when you come to my folks and you say, we need you under a court order that we are required as the Board of Elections to send out these emails to these people, letting them know X, Y, and Z about their ballot.
Right.
My IT people 1,000% cannot do election work. And that's why I wanted to insulate these folks. All requests came through the administration, because had we had done that, now you would have had non-certified elections people. Okay, what if those emails didn't send? Or what if they were wrong? Or what if they weren't complete?
Okay,
you cannot put those uncertified non-election people in the middle of an election. Are you kidding me?
So in the middle of an election, how does the election office get IT support?
So all they'd have to do is pick up their cell phone, no different than you and I sending an
so
email.
So it's not the email then.
So it'd be the email chain. They would go to that. So there's a common email chain, like a group email,
right?
And it said IT. And I mean, the week prior, the Friday or Saturday prior, when I saw there was issues during this previous election, I said, this is how we will proceed. All hands on deck in this email. All those elected officials, all the IT people, blah blah blah. So, I mean, you had like 15 or 16 people in an email thread. Mm-hmm. So at 11 o'clock at night, when I'm at home and I see a request come from the elections office to IT, I see, okay, 11:03, it comes in. 11:05, my person says, hey, I'm responding, I'm moving. They go handle the ticket. 6 minutes later, they report back on the ticket, 11:17, ticket resolved. So we knew what the request was. We knew that somebody was moving. We knew when it was handled. We knew when it was complete. You can't get any more transparent. You can't create any greater digital record.
That was what you were going for.
And that's what happened. That is 100,000. That is 100% what happened. I held it up on the news last night and 36 different documents. So, I mean, it's just crazy. There's no coherent argument. There's no logic, as we've seen with specifically 4 members of this council that are the majority to do these silly things. But the taxpayers are going to pick up the tab. Yeah. It's going to cost us more just for them to have whatever they want to have.
It's 20 after 4 o'clock. We're talking to the county executive. It's the Joel Natale Show on Talk Erie.
Boy, it's
You got Talk Erie on your radio on a really busy Tuesday afternoon. The county executive is with us, Brenton Davis. I'm going to redirect us out of downtown Erie to downtown Corey. And there's a pretty big brouhaha going on there with fiber. I've been covering the story about a gigabit service in Corey, with Impact Corey kind of directing and other folks involved with that now for several years. And now there's a major conflict between Impact Corey and Corey City Council and so on. And my understanding is that you're not big on the gigabit connection in Corey, are you?
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. So, I mean, we've done the research. I mean, I've had the meetings with the directors of the Appalachian Regional Commission grant. That was the $800,000 grant that they got, and that was the grant that got sent back. You got to realize what happens to a community. Like, it sounds great to ride the plane all the way to the scene of the crash, right? But when you got the Appalachian Regional Commission director saying 85% of these projects, fiber projects, have failed. You know, I mean,
what is considered failure?
Like not happening. So they have until October. Like it's not going to happen. I mean, the permitting's not done. I mean, there's no way that this can get done. You know, so the problem is when you hold on to a grant and not accomplish it, I mean, think about that. And then they say, oh, well, let's just turn around and apply for the next one. Well, what do you think's going to happen? That's like hiring a contractor to do your roof. They failed to do it. And then you call the same guy to do your kitchen. You know, it's the same types of things with grants. When you can't accomplish them, it does tarnish essentially a county or a city of these things. They're going to say, look, we can't give these guys a grant. They failed on the last one. You failed in your rotation.
Well, okay, not that long ago, Congressman Kelly came to Corey with the big check for this project.
But it's still not enough to get it done. And then you sit there and look at it. I mean, look at some of this federal funding and all these things that are up in the air. Even look at like the Corey Redevelopment Authority. You look at EMI. You look at all this federal funding. So you take the $800,000. It wouldn't even matter. Let's just say it was fully funded.
Okay.
You don't have enough time to get it through. And then you've got to negotiate with the folks that own the poles. You got to negotiate with they're not going to allow competition.
You don't think any of that stuff has been happening? You know,
I mean, there are things that have been worked, but I'm just telling you, period, point blank. Talking to the experts, talking to the Appalachian Regional Commission, this project's not going to happen. So, I mean, you have to make a decision as a community leader, and it seems that the mayor and the council of Corey did that. So it is not my job to sit there and tell elected leaders what they should do with their funding and their money. So you got to realize the capital stack fell apart. You send the $800,000 back. The $200,000 that was allocated, which was the county's skin in the game to help these projects along, Corey came in and said, hey, this project isn't going to come to fruition. Myself and the mayor met with the Appalachian Regional Commission director. She says, yeah, man, wave off. Like this isn't going to work out. So, I mean, you're talking to the folks that apply these grants and see this across the region, and you look at, okay, now the $250,000, they want to shift that to a stormwater project that is happening. So, I mean, you got two timelines running. One, the Appalachian Region grant, but then also the ARPA dollars. Like, how long do you wait and then try to shift the money? So you risk losing multiple pots of money. So, I mean, it comes down to project viability. You know, it's kind of like landing a plane on an aircraft carrier. You get too deep on it, you got to wave off and take off and go again. Like, you don't force yourself into a bad position. You know, and here's the thing. You look at the maps. We've done all the broadband mapping. Corey is not unserved. It's not even underserved. So when you look at the areas inside,
nobody has gigabit
and you can sit there and you say,
I do because I'm on VNet 100%. Here in the city, right?
and there's needs to haves and there's nice to haves. You know, and it could be nice to have faster internet, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't have the timeline to complete this, it's a fool's errand, and it hurts.
So where did it break down? Because again, I've been hearing about this for 5 years.
Well, listen, over 5 years, you should have something done. You know what I mean? You'd think there should be some fiber, there should be something. Where's the fiber still sitting at? In a warehouse. Like, that stuff should be on poles. I mean, if this project was serious and it was going to get done, I can't testify where the breakdown comes in. I'm not involved at that level. What I know is I have elected leaders that come to me and say, hey, listen, this isn't going to happen. The $800,000's going back. So now you got an $800,000 deficit. It doesn't matter how much money, you know, Congressman Kelly brought in here. So initially, now you don't have that timeline. So what's going to happen with that Congressman Kelly money? It's going to go back. You see what I mean? So it's
that like cuts me to the quick.
100%. So you sit there and think about what is the viability. Now does Congressman Kelly say, well, I just got how many millions of dollars that I sent to Corey. Now we have this money sitting in earmark, and it's not, you can't reallocate it to other stuff. You can't just shift the money. So, I mean, this is why it's imperative that we invest in projects that we can bring to fruition. You know, that's the danger of relying on nonprofits that have no ability beyond just trying to administer funding and acquire funding. You know, and that's why I said it's crucial that all these government bodies work together in lockstep to get this stuff done. It's great to cheerlead. It's great to do this, but I'm telling you, in Erie County, I've said this over and over and over again, this is Erie doing Erie stuff. You know, we cheerlead these projects, all these studies, all these great things, the juice plants, the fiber networks, you know, now a recycling plant. You know, look at what's happening to all this stuff. You know, we've got to pick the singles and doubles and the things that we can do. You know, so to me as a leader, when elected leadership comes to me and says, this stormwater project, here's the capital stack, we're ready to go, we voted to shift the money. You honor the elected officials because they are the will of the electorate, not the nonprofits.
Erie County Executive Brenton Davis is with us. Stand by for news. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're cruising along on this Tuesday. The county executive is with us, Brenton Davis.
Say, talk to me, Goose. Talk to me,
Talk
Goose.
to me, Goose, right? Oh, my gosh. That is a fun song, isn't it? All right. So.
Great balls of fire.
So just kind of broadening out the scope here, because I want to establish that, honestly, internet is as important as water, sewer, electric anymore.
Well, I don't know about water and sewer, but it's definitely up there for utility. I would compare it to like electricity.
Yeah.
I mean,
remember when we built the rural electric co-op? That started here
100%
in Cambridge Springs, right?
Internet's critical. I mean, you got to have it. And again, you go back to Corey. I mean, they're 98% served. So you look at the data mapping. I mean, Corey's not a critical area. There's still places in Erie County where folks are either underserved or completely unserved. So that's really what this broadband project, and even that is, it's up in the air right now. Even as county commissioners, I mean, everything's on hold at the NTIA and the Pennsylvania Broadband Authority. And so, I mean, when you look at things like Impact Corey, is it to any fault of anyone's down there? Not necessarily. It's just these are very difficult projects. They're very expensive. And then when you're dealing with public utilities that own the poles and permits that go through cities, towns, boroughs, counties, this, that, and the other, and then the training and the funding and all the different things, like, it's not an easy thing to accomplish. So, I mean, expecting a little nonprofit to do that heavy lift is just not reasonable.
All right. So what is an answer to what should be a thing that would be a progressive, forward-moving thing for a region?
Well, I mean, I think things like the 10-county co-op, we have 10 counties at the table to look at bringing a revenue bond. So essentially that would be the only ones that would be paying for that bond would be the ones that use the service. So, I mean, that you use the collective buying power of 10 counties, number one, but then you ensure that you're not forgetting somebody out there at the state line or out there on Crawford County, Warren state line. We're all working together collectively. So, I mean, that's greater buying power, but that means that the counties, that co-op together would own the fiber, and then we would subcontract out the use of that fiber. So
you're not opposed to it being a government utility in order to kind of get that last mile.
So, I mean, what we're doing.
With.
So what we're doing right now is actually it's kind of like the new frontier. I mean, some other places are doing it successfully. I think the county co-op, by the taxpayers owning that, we can guarantee quality long term, but also drive competition and guarantee lower prices. We don't have to make a profit. I mean, I can tell you with all the, whether it was VNet, whether it was Charter, Armstrong, I mean, you name it, all the folks that came and just wanted ridiculous money to do this stuff and government subsidies. And anytime these folks think there's a buck to be made, they're all going to jump on board that train. And, I mean, you've got to have skin in the game. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think there is a solution, but it's not going to be done in one-off projects. And maybe like the Impact Corey project 20 years ago, like when Akron was doing this thing 25 years
I'm thinking
ago.
Of Chattanooga.
Any of those 25 years ago, that was super forward thinking. Well, now high-speed internet's everywhere. So if you think you're going to reinvent your economy by providing something as commonplace as what you say, like, hey, look, I got running water in this house, buy it.
Right.
But I mean, it's going to hurt you if you don't have it.
But does it really pencil out for the private guys, for the Verizons?
It doesn't. At all, and that's why, and that's why there's not.
That's why you need these public-private partnerships.
Which is why we've got to do it large scale, 10 counties to generate the interest. There's not enough in one little area, and then how do you get the fiber and connect into somebody else's network? Then like even say downtown in like say Corey or somewhere like that, where like a Charter or Spectrum or one of those folks are already at. They're gonna say, hey, listen, let me tap into X, Y, and Z. Let me use your poles. Come on, that's like a carpenter showing up saying, let me use your truck and your trailer. Like, get the hell out of here.
Let's circle back to some of the other issues that you've proposed and has made it into the news. What is the status of some of those gap projects that you presented back in budget time?
So those are all in the budget. So I mean, what you're talking about
are in the budget.
Well, so this is all part of the veto case. So I put that all in the 2025 budget. Obviously, county council in their wisdom, as we'll call it, struck those from the agenda,
Right.
which has never been done anywhere in county history since its inception. You look at it. I mean, you just showed last week with this IT stuff. We damn well know that it takes 5 votes to override a veto. They just did it twice with this IT stuff. So, don't think that I vetoed just for the case of it. I mean, we're creating legal precedent here. We're creating established pattern that that it takes 5 votes to override a veto. You did it successfully. We created these IT positions regardless of how much taxpayers are going to have to pay. So looking at what's in the budget, we can fight over this all day long. But the only thing that we're doing here is these 4 members of council are going to sit here and allow time to expire, that all these municipalities could be moving forward with this work. It's sunny. It's about construction season. It's about to start. So all they're doing is cost and precious time. Look, we just talked about with Impact Quarry. The time's running out.
Yeah.
We've got less than 2 years to get some major infrastructure projects, and they're letting the shot clock run out. So it's not to say that this is dead in the water, but I think it's going to be very clear here in the next couple months which members of county council are for their districts, are for the county taxpayer, or which ones are prepared to play politics. Keep in mind, look at them. 4 of them are moving in lockstep to sue to raise county taxes despite having tens of millions of dollars in reserve. The same 4 individuals have backed one of the Democratic opponents, and not only as members of the election board, but also as hosts of fundraisers. Come on, this town is not stupid to see where it is. So if you want more taxes, vote for Team Taxes over there at the 4 and their Democratic candidate. Go Team Taxes, right? But at the end of the day, their government is not, unilayered. There's not only one approach, and any member that thinks, oh no, we stopped that in the budget, that projects can't get done in other ways, that's crazy. Is all it takes is putting something forward, putting a resolution forward or an ordinance forward to fund these projects. There's a couple other routes that I have available to me. I'm not going to discuss those. Some of that's strategy, right. But it's very clear here. You block. These 4 Democrats struck from the agenda $2.5 million for EMS funding. Who in their right mind stops ambulances from getting funded? A life-saving service. I know one member of council sat right in this chair and said, I don't think we should subsidize municipalities. Oh no, but we should subsidize childcare. We should subsidize minority businesses and DEI. Everything the county government does is essentially a subsidy. Everything. Almost everything.
Well, to push back a little bit here, again, we've had a lot of conversations about childcare.
Yep.
And there's a huge, we talked about it last month. There's a huge push to try to solve this so that we can get more people back into the workforce, because we're desperate
100%
for people to work.
So I would say this is not an and/or proposition.
So, childcare is economic development. You said it yourself.
100%. And I'm not saying I disagree with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put it forward. And obviously, through my negotiations with ECRA, they're supposed to match that $2.5 million. So, it wasn't the 400 to 500% return that we were putting up with the municipal gap fund, where I think we could have done a heck of a lot better had that money stayed inside a county government and allowed me to negotiate. But, it kind of forced the hand of ECRA to step up to the plate with $2.5 million. We've tasked them with carrying this out. So it's ECRA's job. We've allocated this money. We've tasked you to go out there, 1, to double it, and 2, to administer these funds. And that frees me up to do other work, and that's fine. Childcare is critical. But I would ask you this. Childcare is critical for workforce development. But anybody that can't breathe, or anybody having a heart attack, or anyone's loved one that's laying on the floor, there's nothing more critical than saving a life. So if we're going to subsidize childcare, we're going to subsidize DEI. Why on earth would you be opposed to say? Heck, it could be you. It could be any one of us driving home. Anybody listening to this could need an ambulance in any moment.
The argument seems to be that you're being hyperbolic with this. That it's not that the townships don't want it. The fire departments don't want it.
That's flat out lies. That's flat out lies. So why would you have them signing on to regional ambulance providers, East County, West County? Now, maybe 6 months or a year ago, when this first started, it was the idea of the authority. And I said, well, the authority it's there to be run by townships. So it isn't a future executive making decisions, or a future executive director, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. ECRA was supposedly a good idea when they created it. Back at its inception, it was supposed to be apolitical. Well, now it's so political, their executive director's running for my seat. You can't no longer hide this illusion in this town. So my idea behind this authority is empower the townships. We make sure that gaming revenue is guaranteed to them just like it is with the land bank. That way we can insure ambulances, insure life-saving services, and it's directed by the municipalities. It's directed by the municipalities. I looked at these guys and I said, hey, look, what you're telling me is you're okay with the money coming to you. And they said, well, yeah. I said, I'm operating under the very authority model that I'm telling you, by districts, by zone. Mm-hmm. The only difference is I am solely making these decisions with my committee on where the funding goes. I said, so why on earth wouldn't you want your township supervisors to have a seat at the table? Let them decide it. I mean, it's great. We can make it work temporarily for now, but I'm thinking beyond. As a leader, I need to think 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. What does this look 25 years from now? What does this look like? And how do we continue to fund EMS and make these decisions? Not every county executive might have a background in, logistics or, EMS or any of these things. My military background gives me a unique perspective on how to get this done. But let's just say the previous executive, having a background in dietary sciences may not. Who knows who the next executive would be? You got to look at when you design a mechanism
right,
to make it stand the test of time. And again, I was very adamant. The authority would not pay an executive director. Not a single dollar would pay for salaries. We're not recreating the ECRA debacle. We're not doing it.
I'm going to pick off a couple other bullet points here. We just, here we are in April. Pretty much the overnight emergency shelter at the Community Resilience Center is over. How do you think that went from your perspective?
So just doing a little bit of the feedback from last week with the service providers, we have 2 more nights.
We do? Okay.
April 3rd, it's going to be
3rd?
over. Yeah,
okay.
we didn't want to end it on April 1st. Be like,
it's probably
April
not a
Fool's,
good
sorry.
idea. Yeah.
But no, it's been nothing but positive feedback, and we're looking at ways that we can really leverage that Community Resilience Center. It's things like the upper room. I've offered to them, essentially free use of the space. We all know that they've had the troubles that they've had, the mold and all the stairs and all the different things. It's not really user friendly, and it's not really in the best interest of our guests. And also, obviously, we want to make downtown a safe and welcoming location that doesn't have that appearance. There's a lot of upsides and benefits. We can be compassionate, we can solve problems, we can work together, and it's a building that's going to sit and be air conditioned and have water and the lights and all the other stuff. And then the beautiful part is not only was I able to negotiate a contract for, I think it's 25-some thousand from the urinalysis that paid for the additional utilities that go to the prison. So we paid for the utilities through that urinalysis lease that we put in there. But then I also, we had an emergency at Pennsylvania's Career Link. So we're in the process of, they've been operating in there for well over a month now. So we're going to have some revenue from Pennsylvania Career Link that's operating in the west side of that building.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So, I'm going to, propose to council, look, this is money that we've brought in. I've negotiated to bring money in. So whatever dollars that I brought into that CRC, I want reinvested in services for our homeless. As these tiny homes move forward, we've got all 15 of those of the first single stories. They're built. We're moving into phase 2 of the 2 stories. We should see some groundbreaking here pretty soon on the utilities going in the ground. And, hopefully by mid to end summer, we're hoping to have all those developments complete. We have 2 different VOTEC schools, Meadville and Crawford County and Meadville, and Erie Tech schools. Those students are finishing those out at no labor cost. So, really, it's just the cost of materials. When we get creative, we can solve problems. And I think that's the issue that some folks in our local government just don't see, that not everything has to be a meticulous plan, that if you give it time to develop, you bring the community stakeholders together, you convene conversations, and you find ways that you can save money, every dollar of that $2 million is going to go into serving our unhoused, but I'm going to leverage it with other funding. It's killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The workforce development opportunities, training students for jobs that exist, but then you're serving the need for housing. Right. It's win-win-win all the way around, and that's the way we like to do it.
You mentioned the land bank, the Erie County Land Bank, and again, especially in the city, but also in the townships and the boroughs, we have a blight problem. Mm-hmm. Are we attacking blight from your perspective hard enough? It seems like it's really hard to get stuff either torn down and rebuilt or
So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges. So, I
renovated.
mean, so one, we have two different land banks. We have a city and a county
Right.
land bank. So the county land bank has a new director. So I believe that they've kind of got the kick in the pants that they need. They've restructured, some folks have moved. We got a really proactive RDA in Corey working on housing. Those folks are doing phenomenal. We're opening up another workforce development center. They've acquired a building. So here next week, you'll see some movement, some media coverage of this workforce development center for manufacturing, some other things that are going to be done in Corey. But you look at like the challenges surrounding a land bank. I think we just need to be more creative with how we utilize that funding. We get that $1 million that's allocated every year, and I mean they've been sitting on so much cash because they aren't able to. I just don't think the work was being done appropriately. We didn't have the leadership at the helm that we needed. I think that problem has been rectified. I talked to one of my board appointees actually this morning about that. I think we're heading in a new direction. I think we need to diversify how we tackle blight, whether that's home improvement grants, different things. It's not always the solution of just tear it down. But the problem with tearing it down is the acquisition, the paperwork, the courts. I mean, when you're talking about acquiring land, even like the borough of Union City acquiring the old Union City chair. I mean,
Okay.
that lost in court 2 Fridays ago, for eminent domain. So, I mean, you sit there and look at how costly it can be. And even when let's just say it's an elderly person that dies and there's nobody in the house, it doesn't pay taxes for a couple years, the house gets decrepit, there's no mechanism, nobody wants it. And I mean, there's a long administrative process for them acquiring a lot of this. So by the time you get it, it's so dilapidated and far gone. Now you got to spend money to tear it down or see if anybody wants it. And I mean, and then obviously it goes through the tax sales as well. Right. So I mean, there's just
and there also seems to be a scenario where the townships, boroughs, and cities are going to say, hey, we have a preferred use for that plot of land.
Yep.
We want it to be single family, or we want it to be multifamily. We want owner occupied. We don't want some I'll say it, shyster coming in from who knows where and scooping in and buying that blighted land.
Or turn it into Section 8 housing, collecting the rent, and kind of being a slum landlord.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things the County Housing Authority, I've been real big on them cracking down on Section 8 housing. Like we have the ability right now to institute stricter standards for the quality of living for people that live in Section 8 housing. Mm-hmm. And we should be doing that. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be able to own property, rent to people, collect taxpayer money, and give them a place that's substandard to live. And some people are resistant to wanting to implement that standards, thinking, we're not going to get enough landlords. Well, you know what? If you're not going to be a landlord because you got to provide quality housing, we don't want you. Mm-hmm. Period, point blank. You got to raise the standard of housing. Everybody deserves to live somewhere warm, safe, dry, clean, and reasonable. No matter what their income is. So I'm unapologetic about that. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we often forget to talk about. I mean, things that come across my desk in phone conversations every day, that it's many spinning plates.
Sure.
Many, many, many spinning plates, from the measles outbreak that we're currently dealing with to, endless frivolous lawsuits, or housing, or workforce development, or new programming. I mean, infrastructure projects. We have a big search for... We're looking at different parks projects, We've been looking at a lot of those lately. We're going to start looking at some ball fields, Little League ball fields, and some other groups that have reached out saying, hey, these fields could use some love. So, I mean, if there's anybody out there listening, they got parks projects, obviously get with your township supervisors, reach out to my office, county executive at eriecountypa.gov. We'll come out, we'll take a look at your projects. Obviously that's not promising funding, what some members of council may believe it to be, but that's the job of a county executive. It's my job to get out there, look at the projects, vet them, help them put together the capital stacks, identify things like the Neighborhood Assistance Program or NPP, maybe some local donors that want to get engaged, and then look at how the public sector can fill that gap, after grants and other things.
We just got a couple more minutes left with the county executive, Brenton Davis. Does the county have a role in this refugee resettlement funding crisis that these three major organizations who have been a part of our community for decades, they're really feeling the hurt right now?
So 100%. So I'll tell you what I did last week, or this past week. Actually, I think it was this Monday. I don't know what day it is. We worked through the weekend with this measles crisis. I'm coming and going. I don't know what day it is. So I sent a letter to both ECRA and Diverse Erie, the DEI Commission, and I encouraged them to consider an allocation of $250,000 each. And what I did is I sweetened the pot and said, if you each give $250, I'm going to send down a supplemental appropriation to county council for their consideration to match the $250. You know, talking the Erie Community Foundation, that would give us $750,000. That should fill a significant gap in which I believe we can go to the city of Erie. I mean, the mayor has been very supportive of warm and welcoming and new Americans. I think they need to step up to the plate as well and do what they can do. But I think there's a lot of opportunities, and this is going to be this might be the moderate Republican in me coming out, but folks that say, come here legally, anybody that's typically probably from my side of the aisle that says illegals, this, that, and the other, listen, you know, refugees, folks that came here legally, they came here, most of these folks, the Afghanis and a lot of them, served their brothers and sisters in arms in Afghanistan. I'm unapologetic about that. You know, whether they did or they didn't, our nation made a promise to these folks. That's a contract that's been signed. They're fully vetted. So 100%, I mean, there will be a clause in there that we will not support any folks if they're not, you know, vetted through the refugee process. There's not going to be a slush fund that illegal immigrants could, you know, see any kind of benefit from this. But the folks that came here legally, this is what America was founded on. You know, these folks came legally. That's why I'm stepping up to the plate, leading the charge for this $750,000. You know, I've gotten very positive response from Mr. Saeed from the chairman of the DEI Commission. Him and I talk all the time. I believe that that will be a positive outcome. Haven't heard anything from ECRA yet, but you know, I think it'd be unfortunate if they don't match that $250,000. And you know, again, we're going to approach the city of Erie because they have a role. The vast majority of these folks live in the city. And, you know, I think anybody else, aside from legal immigration, you have to look at the fact is, if you leave these folks hanging high and dry, you can invest $1 now, or I think we're looking statistically, it's about $8 or $9 more. So 8 to 9 times more if we allow this situation to snowball. So one, fiscally, it's more responsible to get ahead of it now as opposed to them entering social services. Yeah. So if we help them get to self-sufficiency, we're better off that way. Obviously, we're going to write these things in such a way that if we give the money and we get the federal reimbursement, the money comes back. Yeah. You know, so I mean, really, I'm looking at this hopefully more like a line of credit to help these folks out, bridge the gap, and help some of these families not endure more hardships than probably most of these human beings have ever imagined. You know, so hopefully it's with those partners, anybody listening that wants to help out and get involved in that fight, I would encourage you to reach out to my office. But I think between the county executive's office, county council, ECRA, and the DEI Commission, I mean, I think we can come up with the first $750,000 to really close that gap.
We're going to leave it there. County Executive Brenton Davis here on the Joel Natale Show. Thank you, sir. It is 3 minutes in front of 5 o'clock.